Hi there, I'm Martin Mueller from Xicato, and I'm going to show you LED dimming and compare here and demonstrate mainstream, quality, and our XIM module. So all of these are going to be controlled by a 1 to 10 volt dimmer. This one happens to be a Lutron Diva. And what we have on both mainstream and quality is our XTM module, 1300 lumen, 3000 Kelvin. We have the exact same 1300 lumen, 3000 Kelvin light source integrated into our XIM module. And then also as part of our demonstration, so we have a multimeter so we can take a look at the control voltage coming in on the 1 to 10 volt control line. Now what I'm going to do is I will be powering off at AC so we can actually take a quick look at the modules that we're showing here. So, as I said, on mainstream and quality, we are using an XTM module. This XTM module happens to be mounted onto a spacer so that it provides the same mechanical, physical height as our XIM module. And then here we have our XIM module, and this is, of course, got the control system coming in, purple and gray wires, and we have a 48 volt power supply to power it up. So let's go ahead, turn on the lights, and take a more detailed look at how they perform. So one of the first things you probably will notice is that as I flipped on the AC, we had them come up at different points, with the mainstream coming up last. Next thing is, let's take a look at the dimming performance, dimming range. So I'm starting here at 7.27 volts. So I'm up near the high end of the control range. We'll crank it all the way up. See a little bit increase in the XIM and the quality dimming driver. And really didn't notice much, or I certainly didn't notice much, anything on the mainstream driver. So now I'm going to go ahead, bring the voltage down, and look at what the dimming performance is. We're going to go to about the midpoint in the control range, and what that takes us to, 3.2 volts for control voltage. And as you can see, we've got a very nice dim performance on both quality and XIM, and a little bit of dimming on the mainstream. And so that's the first thing to look at. You're not getting the deep dimming out of this mainstream driver that you get out of quality and of course the XIM. Now let's continue to go down in the control voltage. So I'm now down to about 25% left in my range, so 75% down. And one of the things you'll notice is, once again, very little dimming here in the mainstream. This has gone fairly dark and we're a little bit brighter here. And from a control voltage standpoint, we're at 1.5 volts. And if we continue to take it down, all the way down to 1 volt, you can see now these are about the same. And what this is, what we know of our XIM and also how we've set up this driver, is these are at about 1%. This one is still quite bright, or appears quite bright, and that's probably because the control range limit is limited to 10%. So this right here shows you roughly the difference between what you get at 10% versus what you get to 1%. Obviously much deeper, darker. I'm going to go ahead, flip it off, so I'm at 1 volt minimum intensity, and you will see that at least with these two, they get a little bit dimmer. This one gets a little bit dimmer, but it's still quite bright, significantly brighter than the 1% on either of these. So these have dim to off feature. This with the mainstream clearly doesn't. Flip it back on, and we'll go ahead, turn it up. Just, keep a look at this, and you'll notice that there's not a whole lot of intensity difference in it, whereas both of these, you have a deep dim, and you're coming up to a fairly bright dim. So I really don't want to spend a whole lot more time talking about this one. Limited dimming range, some effects coming on, delay effects in terms of turning on from an AC source. It's important really because the only way you're going to turn this one off, once again, is if you're turning it off at the AC source. I can't turn it off with my dimmer switch. My control voltage is at 0 volts. It's gotten dimmer. It hasn't gone off. Both of these have gone off. Turn it all the way on. I'm going to go ahead, turn off the AC power, and we're going to reconfigure it so we really don't want to look at this one anymore. And we're going to do a deeper dive into quality as compared to XIM.